Welcome to another episode of the STR Sisterhood. I'm your host, Stacy St, and I hope you're having a great day today, first of all. And second of all, before we dive into today's episode, I want to share a quote that I recently read that resonated with me. And it says this: embrace the glorious mess that you are. I thought that was really fun. And those words come to us from award-winning author Elizabeth Gilbert. Now, speaking of mess, we are sitting down with Amy Morehead today, and she is actually sharing with us the mess that she was in when she started out in her short-term rental journey. You see, she had a mom with dementia that she was caring for and had a gap in her monthly income. She couldn't pay her bills. And I cannot wait for you to hear her story and hear about where she is today and how far she's come. So without further ado, let's dive into my conversation with Amy Morehead. So today we are joined by Amy Morehead, and we are going to be diving into all things within Amy's journey. But first, Amy, thank you so much for being with us.
Well, it's great to be here. I'm honored to be on your podcast.
Aw. Well, I would love to start off and just have you share with the audience a little bit about who you are and where you live.
Okay. So I'm Amy Morehead. I am a mother of three, a wife of 24 years, and a nurse practitioner in family practice, ER, urgent care settings. I live in Shelbyville, Kentucky, and I'm a real estate investor, which is my new venture over the past 2 years.
So I'm curious, how did you get started in the world of real estate investing? What did that look like?
Right. Because it's a big jump to go from
nurse
medicine. Yeah. To go from medical world over to investing world. Like, how do the two collide, you know? So I actually entered the investing world kind of out of necessity. So my mother had dementia and Alzheimer's, and so I was her caregiver. And so I had stepped back from my W-2 to help care for her at home. And, you know, when you don't clock into work, you don't make money. And so here I was doing the most important work of my life, and I couldn't make my bills. Like, we couldn't pay our bills. I was trying to pay for care, whatnot. And we had a property in the Smokies at that time. Mom and I had bought one in 2009 or 10, like when the crash first happened.
Yep.
And Mom and I bought one property together, and it was just our mountain home in Gatlinburg. And we only used it for our family and friends and relatives. And during that time, when I wasn't really working full time, I needed a gap. I needed extra income. I needed to help pay for home care. I needed to be able to make some bills. And I knew we had this property, and I was probably leaving money on the table here. What solution can I find between the property and making bills and paying for care? And I decided to start renting it out. I didn't know about self-management at that time, so I started using property management company. And it didn't replace by any means my income, but it helped bridge the gap. It helped to pay for groceries. It helped pay for some bills. It helped pay for some home health care that I was paying for out of pocket. So it was a necessity for me during that time. And that was my first kind of introduction to renting, to, like, I guess, short-term rentals, vacation rentals, what that world's all about.
Yeah.
So actually it was a lifeline for me. And I really clung to that lifeline. And then I jumped into that whole world after her passing. Cause I realized the need that it served for me at that time. And it was almost healing too, when I jumped all the way in. After her passing, I jumped, I full force, full steam ahead into the world of investing.
Yeah. I'm curious what a unique situation, but I think your scenario is very similar to many where, you may have a family home, you may have a property that you have enjoyed with your family and friends for vacation that, situations arise where you're like, oh my gosh, I need to bring in extra income and I've got this property kind of sitting over here. But as you know, hosting a property for other people that aren't your family and friends, there's a big learning curve there, right?
Completely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So how did you, as you were looking to bridge the financial gap, how did you bridge the learning gap where it's, okay, I need to learn all the things? Or as you mentioned, were you initially with a property manager and then you decided to self-manage? Talk to us about that.
Yeah. So I was with a property management company before. And then when I delved straight into short-term rental and investing, I needed to absorb all this information I didn't have before. And so it was almost like I was drinking from a fire hose because I was absorbing all the information and all the podcasts, all the content. And I was reading the Ed Milet's and I was reading Marie Forleo's and Napoleon Hill's and Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the whole bit, and that's when I discovered two big things in my life as I found a business coach. And then I found you and all that reading because I started reading Hospitable Host. And you had authored a chapter. And so, I was highlighted and underlined and dog ears, all these books and things that resonated with me. I had to go find that person and see how I could connect with them because I felt like they talked to my soul, and helped give me direction. And I felt like this world of investing is very friendly to newcomers. And I really felt welcomed. And so I found a business coach that helped me on the business side. And then with you and your organization with STR Success Accelerator, I had these new friends that were doing the same journey that I was on. I wasn't alone because it can be a lonesome road. And you have to branch out of your typical network to find people that are doing the same thing you're doing.
Yeah.
And to learn, because you have this collective genius of people that know all these different things from different avenues. And you can absorb some of their information and even borrow their courage sometimes along the way as you're moving through all of this.
What a cool phrase, borrow their courage. I've never heard that before, but I absolutely love it. And it's so true. It's so true. And also borrow from their mistakes too.
No, completely. Because that's how you learn, fail, when Marie Forleo said, fail is FAIL, first attempt in learning. You either win or you learn. That's it. You don't fail unless you give up. Yeah. So then you learn from other people's failures.
Yeah.
They just learn a way to not do it. Yeah. That's it. And I learned a way not to do something. And so going through all those pages of those books and listening to all the content, I learned so much from that. And from like I said, I borrowed their courage because you got to have courage to step out of your normal self and to become the person you need to be. You have to have courage which eventually builds to confidence, but you don't have confidence at first. You don't.
Yeah.
You got to have the courage. And if you don't have that, you borrow it from someone else.
So cool, Amy. I'm curious, as you were absorbing all the things, if you don't mind sharing, talk to us a little bit. I know you mentioned you really started to delve in after your mom's passing, but talk to us a little bit about, you being in learning mode when you're trying to care for your mom. What was that like for you?
It was therapy for me, because I got to escape the world that I was in. Because when you're a caregiver for someone with dementia or Alzheimer's, you're living in their reality. You have to learn to put your reality aside, and whatever reality is given to you that day, when they wake up in the morning, is what you have to live with. And so all this learning was a complete escape from that. I got to put my nose in a book and escape my world and delve into something else. But it wasn't frivolous. It wasn't fiction. It wasn't mystery. It was true hard work that I was changing myself during all of this. I was blossoming into who I was going to become, and I didn't realize it during all that time. Like you're trying to find an escape because you're just going to break down and cry. And at the end of the day, you cry yourself to sleep. But in the middle of all that, you're becoming the next version of yourself, the best version of yourself.
Yes.
You find that grit. You find all that grit. And that's what I needed to be able, I needed the outlet of this investing and learning to be a host. And that was therapeutic for me, actually.
Yeah. And so when did you decide, hey, I want to, number one, start self-managing, and then number two, I want to buy more properties? What did that transition look like for you?
Yeah. That was a quick transition. So I was delving and learning and not knowing I was blossoming, because in 2 months after her passing, we bought the lake house, because I had learned how to leverage one property to buy another. I had learned about creative financing, which was a like light bulb moment for me, as a game changer, actually. So we leveraged one property and bought the lake house, and it was a hot mess, hot mess. And I could barely afford to get my foot in the door of a lakefront property that was almost falling down.
Yeah.
But luckily, so my husband owns a construction company, and he does residential remodeling. He's done this for years, 17, 20 years. And I had him in my back pocket. So I told him my dream. I remember we were at a marina, at a local marina close to home, having dinner. And I was telling him my idea of what I wanted to do. And I want to buy a lake house. I want this lake house I wanted to be lakefront. I wanted to have a dock with deep enough water for me to run on the dock and jump and plunge into the water. That sounds so refreshing. And that's what I wanted. And I found a way to do it. We don't have to go and put a whole loan on this one property. I can lean and pull equity out of our other property and buy this. So all that learning, all that time, with my nose in a book, I found out how to do all that. So we bought the lake house, and it was my passion project. I delved into that. I poured all my energy and all my passion into that. And I'm not an interior designer. I'm not, but I became the, interior designer for the project. And he was the contractor for the project. And so we worked together, and it was a whole family affair, because even my 3 kids even worked as well. Now they're 24, 20, and 15. And my 15-year-old is the size of a grown man. Like, he could do all the heavy lifting. And so my husband really utilized him and leaned on all of them, actually. So, and we all used it as our passion project, I think, as a form of healing after, her passing. It was therapeutic for me and all of us, I think, even though it was a hot mess.
And so talk to me a little bit about the logistics of that rehab. Is the lake property close to home, or is it in the Smokies as well?
No, it's actually the only property I have that's not in the Smokies, and it's an hour from home. It was our first venture into this world. And so when I told him I wanted a lake house and I wanted a dock and I wanted to be able to jump and run and plunge into the water. So his stipulation was it needs to be close to home so I can go work on it during the day and drive home in the evening and have dinner with everybody in the evening. It has to be close. Okay. This this is our first venture. We need to take it slow. And so it's an hour from home. And so logistically figuring out how to finance a rehab, because I already found a way to buy it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but now we need money to rehab the property. Like, how do we do that?
Right.
You know? And so we had equity in our own personal home that we were able to get a HELOC on. So we pulled some money out of that to be able to rehab the lake house. And it was, at that time, my son was playing football. I was able to take him back and forth to football practice, and we were living there during the summer. So he was able, when school started back up, I was able to drive him to school and bring him back in the evening hours back to the lake house. He's at fish in the evening times because we have great fishing there. So it was a vacation, but it was workcation. Because we worked all day, and then in the evening times we would catch fish, we'd fry the fish, we would make a campfire and talk about the day. And it was fun. We built a lot of memories then. It was really fun. But it was close enough to where we could work close to home. You know? And if we weren't living there, we did that during the summertime. But if we weren't living there, then, my husband could go and work during the day and come home in the evenings.
Right.
Yeah.
And so from a timing perspective, how long did it take you to finish that rehab?
Yeah. We bought it in October and we were done, and I started renting it in July.
Okay.
So actually it was a long rehab because we were still he was still trying to work, for his other clients as well.
Sure.
And I was starting to get back into work as well and picking up some shifts. And so I wasn't able to be out there full time either. So we were both trying to do, he didn't have a W-2 for a number of years because he's self-employed. I was trying to get back into the W-2 world as well. So it was, I guess, a part-time job for us at that time. It took a while to get done, but it needed foundation work. It needed a whole new septic system. Every room had to be renovated. I mean, it was a complete gut. That house was a complete gut. It's beautiful now.
It is beautiful. It is beautiful. Now, I'm curious too. You mentioned you're not an interior designer, but you became the interior designer. I'm very much like that too. I always tell people I'm not a designer, but I do enjoy decorating my properties, right?
Yeah.
Was that experience for you as you were doing the design and decor? Did you find yourself second guessing your choices at all, or what was that process like as you were doing the design, or did it just come naturally to you?
I didn't second guess anything. I just knew my colors, and I discovered this whole thing called Canva. I never knew a thing about Canva. And actually, you had introduced me to an interior designer that I ended up getting a class from. What's her
Valerie,
name?
maybe.
Valerie. Yeah, Valerie. Yeah. So I had absorbed content from Valerie, and I, bought one of her programs, and I started learning about interior designing, and I was like, this is cool. I love this artsy side of things. It's so fun. And then I learned about Canva and how to make these vision boards for each room and put all these colors together and curtains and pillows and bedspreads. And I can see it before I make it.
Yeah.
And that was so fun. And I use Canva every day. I do Canva for everything now, it seems like. But I didn't really second guess on anything. It wasn't that I felt unsure about the design side of things. I like that. That was really fun and expressive for me.
That's awesome. And I also think too, something that you mentioned, I think is important to highlight, that you became educated. You weren't just going and designing a property on a whim and going, oh, well, I hope this looks okay. You got formalized education. You figured out what resources you needed in order to create a vision for what you wanted and then bring it to life. So I love that.
You have to invest in yourself. Like if you don't invest in if you don't spend time in personal development, then you're going to have to be committed to pain and suffering. You have to develop yourself. And a lot of this, I tell you, is a mindset. Because when you enter this world, when I stepped into this world, I felt like an imposter. Like I don't belong, but these people are legit. They know what they're doing. Like they are doing the thing. And like, I'm a pretender here. I'm an imposter in this world. And it's a complete mindset shift to grow into those shoes and to become her, to become the person you need to be, to do what you need to do to have what you want. And that takes growth, a lot of growth. And I needed to I need to learn specific knowledge. Like when you think about college, that's general knowledge, like broad general knowledge, colleges. I needed specific knowledge. So I needed to go to specific coaches and learn this specific knowledge. So I actually pulled money out of my 401k because I was now investing in my own retirement because I was buying these properties, which are my retirement plan in the future. So if I'm going to invest in myself, I'm going to put it all on the line. I need, so I pulled money out of my retirement to pay for my own education, for my mentors and coaches and programs. And I learned what I need to learn, but you really have to go to, great leaders and coaches and mentors to teach you this specific knowledge to be successful. You can't do this on your own. You need to learn from other people's mistakes, other people's successes. And like I said, that this world is very welcoming. It really is. It's very friendly and very welcoming. And I've made so many new friends. So yeah, you definitely have to invest in yourself as you move forward with this.
Totally. And I love what you said, that if you were going to invest in your retirement, you knew what you needed to do. And that's invest in yourself first. Like you're investing in your own knowledge and education so that you can actually bring to life what it is that you're dreaming about and envisioning for your future. I know for me, so many folks, when I tell them how much money I have spent on coaching and mentors, and I continue to spend on coaching and program, because guess what? It continues to help me grow in my own personal development. People look at me like I have two heads, right? Like you are crazy.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. I wouldn't trade that for anything, because to your point, I've been able to learn from other people's mistakes, to tap into I love what you said, to borrow other people's courage. I'm building a resort right now. Had I not been a part of a group, a community of people that are all about boutique hotels and resorts, I would have never, ever had the confidence to do a project at this scale, and that's one example of how I've been able to, I'm totally going to borrow your phrase. It's phenomenal.
Yeah. No, at that time, I said, I wanted to be able to become an investor. I wanted this to become my retirement plan. And so I figured I better put my money where my mouth is. And if I'm going to do this, I'm going to risk it all. I'm going to make sure I grow this and I grow myself and I grow my company, into what I need it to be, to make that happen. Because you can't just tip your toe in it.
Yeah.
You can't just tip your toe in investing. I didn't feel that was going to be my, answer. I needed to go full force.
Yeah.
And to do that, I needed to learn quite a bit. So it's 80% mindset and 20% like intervention of what you learn.
Yeah. I think the other thing too that is important for folks to listen to is, number one, you did feel like an imposter when you started, right?
Mm-hmm.
You built up your confidence by, borrowing other people's courage and being loyal to yourself, following through with the work that it takes to become your next best version of yourself. And I think so many folks tend to sit by the sidelines because they're afraid of leaping forward. But really, if you are investing in one thing, investing in yourself and trusting yourself, I think is the most impactful investment that anyone can make, real estate or not real estate. So I love that you've done that. So talk to us a little bit about, you've now got your one property in the Smokies, you've got your lake house. What was next in your portfolio growth?
So we bought 2 more since then. And so we bought after the lake house, there was another hot mess that we bought, and it was at the Smokies. And we were able to, again, leverage one property. Once it was done and completed and I was starting to rent it, leverage that to buy the next one. And the Smoky Mountains, real estate, the property values are skyrocketing, and it was difficult to break into the market with the type of homes that we were looking for, because we are looking for the rehabs. That's what we can afford. And we will eventually step up our real estate investing to where we can enter the next tier of investing, right? It's all you do what you can. You do what fits in your lifestyle at that time. So we bought another hot mess, but it's beautiful now, just like the lake house. It's great. So, he's got great vision. I feel like, even though I'm not an interior designer, I feel like I did pretty good on designing all the colors and the interior and the exterior. And so that is up and running. So we've got 3 that I'm self-managing right now. So 2 in the Smokies and the lake house. And then our 4th rehab, we bought another one in the Smokies. It's just like a mile from the first house we ever had, the chalet that Mom and I bought together. It's like a mile up the road, up the mountain. And so that rehab will be done, I'm thinking early next month, mid next month. So we're looking at August. I'll add that on. And so I'll be self-managing that as well.
Love it.
And, I'll tell you, I remember in one of your podcasts, you had said, doing a rehab is like a pregnancy, right? And you get to the end and you're like, get this baby out of here. Like, I am so done. I am done with this. And then maybe, 2 or 3 months down the road, you were like, oh, wasn't that so fun? Like, we had so much fun. We should do it again. So this time, like, we're already looking for our next one.
You've already got the child before it's actually out of you, right?
Right. So we're looking for our 5th right now. And where we're going to stay, I don't know if we'll stay in the Smokies market or if we'll bring it back home and invest close to home. We've talked about both ways. So we'll see where that leads me.
That's so fun. I'm curious now that you have 3 properties live, how has operating or hosting for 3 properties, how has that changed your perspective of hosting, or what have you learned with hosting 3 properties versus 1? Because I always share with people, it's, very different. Even in my world, when I went from 1 property to 5 properties, and hosting 10 properties is different than hosting 5, and hosting 20 is different than hosting 10. Now I have 43 properties I'm hosting, which is very different, right? Than 1. So in your growth trajectory, how has, your world changed, or what have you learned along the way when it comes to hosting multiples?
I've learned a ton of technology Technology is what I've learned. So, automating so much stuff. And so having a property management software, right now I use Hospitable. And having a program that will send messages is a lot of upfront building the program of what you want to say to guests when they ask certain questions, and be able to build this program out to be your voice has been a game changer. And then with that, there's all these other softwares that integrate with this, your lock system and, I can't even think of what all the programs, like what's in my tech stack,
Yeah.
All this that you have to learn along the way, but it makes it doable to self-manage.
Mm-hmm.
Before, not knowing what I know now, self-management seemed like so overwhelming. There's no way I can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But once you swallow all that pride and you start learning, and you learn that what technology to use, what software to use, then you realize, oh, I can do this.
Yeah,
I can do this. And adding a second one onto the first one was another layer of difficulty, but I guess another layer of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've got three going. So every day I've got multiple conversations going on with guests. And so it can be difficult. And, we've talked about, in the program about getting a VA by chance, eventually when that time is going to be. And, the question mark is in my head, like it might be coming in the next property or two,
right?
That I might need to outsource some of this to someone else.
Sure.
But right now it's manageable with what I'm doing. I feel like the software makes it manageable for me.
And I'm curious, within the Smoky Mountains, are you utilizing the same boots on the ground team members for both of your properties currently?
I am. So I've got the same cleaners for both properties. And then they know I've got the third one coming behind this like next month. And then they'll be taking care of that too. And with the cleaning service I'm with right now, they also have like a maintenance service too.
Nice.
So, we're down there. Like we just got back. What is this, Monday? We got back Saturday. So we were there for 2 whole weeks, and there were issues at either of the other properties we were able to go over and fix or help with. But when we're not there, which is the majority of the time, we don't live there. Mm-hmm. So it's nice to have a maintenance team that can respond to issues, to be my boots on the ground. And in the Smokies, of being a vacation market, you've got a lot of companies to choose from.
Sure.
And choosing the right company, choosing the right one that you're gonna work well with is important. But gotta have great boots on the ground, because they are your bloodline to that property.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, for your lake house, how did you find your cleaners and maintenance team members there?
Yeah. So I found she did residential cleaning. And so she had never done vacation rentals, anyone that had properties on Airbnb or Vrbo or direct booking. And so this was her first experience with that, but she's loved it. She really has. And so she's wanting to do, more work for more investors, because she enjoys that type of work, that type of cleaning, turning over in between guests. So it's been really great. I've had the same cleaner since we first started. So it's been a year now. It's been a little bit over a year now. And she's done great. So and she's local, and we've really enjoyed having her there.
Amazing. And isn't it fun how you get to impact someone else's life? Like turning that cleaner on at the lake house to this world, it excites her to continue to grow in her knowledge and grow her business. I just think that is so cool that through the power of short-term rentals, you get to not only make changes and impact your own life, but you can also impact the lives of your team members in the most positive way.
I was at a conference, and her name escapes me right now. But she was discussing real estate investing and entrepreneurship in general, just entrepreneurship in general. As an entrepreneur, our job is to allow money to flow through our hands, not to be a keeper of money. But for us to do better in the world, for us to do great things in the world, it's going to take some money to make that happen. So if we use ourselves to make something great, to be able to pump some money out that we can then allow it to flow through our hands to make changes in the world, we're doing great things.
Amen. You're giving me goosebumps. I totally agree. I love that. So talk to me about what is next in your world. I know that you have a new Lifeline, a new business that you are starting. All through, I think the power of what you have learned along the way. Talk to us about what that is.
Yeah. So, like I was saying that I got into all this and the chalet was my lifeline throughout caring for mom because I needed extra income to, pay for her care. There's a huge gap between a loved one living independently with dementia and Alzheimer's and needing long-term care. There's a huge gap there. And so she was with us for 5 years, and there is limited resources for in-home caregivers. It's like a desolate island. And so I lived on that island the whole time that she was living with me. I was her assisted living plan, that's what I had stepped back from my W-2. And I needed someone to guide me through this, to guide me, be like my roadmap, because there is no roadmap at all. And I help people in the clinic, that have dementia or have Alzheimer's, one person at a time. But I know I can do more than that. I know I'm meant for more than that. If I can have a greater reach, if I can be that someone that I needed in their journey, in their caregiving journey, and share with them what I learned living on that desolate island, being a caregiver at home, what really helped. And so I've got a whole program that I'm teaching now. So I'm a dementia caregiver coach and consultant as well. During that whole time, I was learning about short-term rental. I was also learning about how to be a great dementia caregiver. And so I had tapped into another coach, and she taught me how to do this at home. And I'm now being certified through her whole program, to help my community and to also have an online presence, and to teach this to other caregivers that are in that same position that I was in when I felt all alone.
Yeah.
And I didn't have the resources I needed. I want to be that resource for someone else.
I love that. I love that so much. And I think, you are of the same mindset as I am, where, we've been through something in our lives that has transformed us. And now it's almost, you feel a sense of responsibility to pay it forward, because we know what it feels like to be on the alone side, and it's not fun.
Yeah. No, it's not. And to learn how to suffer well, to learn how to live well during that time. And wrestle well between the gardens. You think of Garden of Eden, and then the restored Garden of Eden. We need to wrestle well between that time. And when we're given a situation it feels like you're against an enemy that's larger than life, how do you wrestle well in that time?
Yeah.
And how do you allow your loved one to live a great life during that? And instead of saying, they're dying of Alzheimer's, they're living with Alzheimer's. Live. The dying's going to take care of itself. It's the living part. It's the living part that's the struggle. So how do you live well with it? And how do you make those meaningful connections with them, not using their memory? How do you make meaningful connections? And how do you leverage their remaining abilities to help them complete their ADLs, to help them live a good life. That's what I want to. That's what I want to help other people tap into those resources.
Amazing. I love that so much. I just want to say, congratulations on that, because I know, that obviously taking the journey of living it yourself versus helping teach other people. I know, again, that's a transition, and it's a big transition. So I just want to say, I am so impressed by you and proud of you for you taking that leap and for helping others in their probably some of the toughest times that they will go through in their lives. I think that's amazing, Amy.
Well, thank you. That's what we're here to do. We're here to help. We're here to help the world to get through this life, and the struggles that we might have. And I'll tell you, there's programs for success for everything, financial freedom or whatever kind of program success wise that you can think of, except for the program that will help you walk along someone who's losing their mind every day. What's the keys to success for that look like?
Right.
The keys to success of losing your mind. So that's what I want to offer other people, because there are the keys to make that a successful transition period for them, and to make it fun and to make it joyful. How you can have joy during that whole time.
Love it. And so what is the name of your consulting and coaching program?
Dementia Hero. So dementiahero.com. And it's still in the development phase. And so my program is Dementia Hero Roadmap, which will be the program where I have my coaching and consulting with. But we also, we have an online presence and support groups and all that. So
amazing. Okay, so I would love at this point to move to the lightning round. Okay, so this is where I'm going to ask you to answer hopefully some easy questions with the very first thing that comes to mind. First question is, where is your favorite place to vacation?
Any national park.
Okay.
Any national park. I love them all. I am one of these people that want to research every place I'm going to and download all the trails and then download all the history of the trails. And I want to be able to tell my family all about it. And, now we're going to go, and tell them what we're going to tour next and how important it is. And, so I love learning about national parks and traveling to them.
So fun. Okay. What's one place you've never been that you want to visit?
South America.
Ooh,
I've never.
area.
South America I know is rich in culture and history and ancient civilization. That intrigues me. So if I can combine a vacation of learning about ancient civilizations and great food in the evening times and some great wine, that's great. That'll be a great vacation for me.
And if there's a national park along the way,
yes, better. Right. Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Yeah. What's one thing you know now that you wished you knew when you were starting out in the world of short-term rentals?
You're not an imposter. You're going to feel like an imposter. You're going to feel like you're entering a world you don't belong to. You're really just growing into the next best version of you. You're growing into her. My her was the female real estate investor. That's the her I wanted to become. So, you learn, how do you become her? And you go through all the steps. And then eventually you one day you just blink and you realize I'm her. I am her now. And that I guess that imposter syndrome is kind of in the background, sometimes it's still there, but you're not an imposter.
And I think what's even more important to go along with that, I don't want to say even more important, but equally as important is the decision to become her, right? The decision to just be her, and you will grow into her. Think like her, act like her. And then you blink your eye and you realize, oh,
you are her.
You are her. Right?
Yeah. You have to drop those limiting beliefs. Those limiting beliefs, those phrases that start with, I can't, or I wish that I, those negative statements. If you fight for your limitations, if you try to prove to people why you can't do things, you get to keep those limitations.
Mm-hmm.
And then you are in a prison of your own making. You've done it yourself. Yeah. So drop those limitations, and your beliefs about yourself is a choice. You can believe anything. Your mind knows what you tell it. It doesn't know reality versus what's not real. It knows what you tell it. So tell it great things in the morning when you wake up. Recite your affirmations. Amen. And visualizations, and you train your brain to become who you need to be. But you have to drop those limiting beliefs, first of all, and break out of that prison you put yourself in.
I couldn't agree more. And I think, one of the things that was probably most impactful in my own life was and I've talked about this a million times, but for me, learning how to train my brain and how to actually speak to myself and actually speak my future into existence. That, again, people look at me like I have two heads when I talk about that because they think I'm crazy. They're like, I'm sorry, all that positivity crap, you're living in some la la land. And I'm like, actually, I'm not.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm not.
No. Because they have their own limiting beliefs, and then they put those limiting beliefs onto you.
Yeah.
Because you're becoming someone that they don't know you as, and it makes them uncomfortable.
That's right. That's right.
There was a book that Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And I didn't read it for a while because I'm like, I don't want to be rich. Like, why would I read this book? But then I finally broke down and I read it, and it was powerful in how do you manifest things into your life? Mm-hmm. How can you think things into existence? How can you train your brain to think differently and to believe differently? That was the whole book. That was the whole book of how to train your brain. And then you step into the world of Ed Milet's, and you step into the world of Mel Robbins and Marie Forleo's, and you learn how to, Miracle Morning too. Hal Elrod, how to do a miracle morning, and say great things to yourself in the morning. Recite these affirmations you've written. Have the visualizations and manifest your life into what you want it to be.
Yep.
And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of groundwork to get there.
Yeah.
But it's not beyond anybody. And anyone can do that.
Amen. And it is the greatest work of your life, right? The greatest work of your life. I'm curious, Amy, next question. What is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Everything is figure-outable.
Amen.
It's all figure-outable. It's so simple, but so complex at the same time.
Yeah.
Like, you can figure it out, but then, oh snap, I can figure this out. Like, I need to go through these steps because we can make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
So everything is figure-outable. And like we said before, belief is a choice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Love it. Last question. What is one thing and or person that you're grateful for today?
Oh, wow. One thing. Wow. Gosh.
One of the many.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
just one.
My mentors, because they helped mold me and blossom me into who I am now. And that's Stacy, that you're one of those mentors. Andrea Engstrom is another one. She's my business coach. And most of all, my mother, because she taught me to be the resilient, brave woman that I've become, because she was a product of the feminist era. And she was strong-willed and powerful with her words, and would combat anything. Nothing scared her. And so I didn't think I was like her. I didn't think I was like her. And then now I realize maybe I do have a little bit more of that than what I thought. A little more grit.
Absolutely. Amy, I am confident that when people listen to this episode, they're going to say, I need to get in touch with Amy. I need to learn more about her. Where is the best place for folks to find you online?
So 2 places. So my property, my direct booking site there is mapleleafpromise.com. And then for dementia coaching is dementiahero.com.
Amazing. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me.
Now, before you go, I want to share a quick shout out to all the amazing women inside the Female Short-Term Rental Investors Facebook group. Just 2 days ago, I actually posted, let's spread some positivity. I want to know, what's the nicest thing a guest has done or left for you as a thank you. And it has been so fun reading through all of the comments. Brenna Carls said they painted a picture and left it, and we hung it up in our kitchen area. And Kat Pape says a guest left a note with a handmade necklace made of silver and sands from the Maine coast after reading my chapter in Hospitable Hosts. Is that not so cool? I just think it is so fabulous to read all these wonderful stories of joy inside the Female Short-Term Rental Investors Facebook group. Not only are we spreading positivity, we are spreading support, and we are spreading joy. So if you are not a member, my friend, come on over, find us on Facebook, go to facebook.com/groups/female STR investors. All right, my friend, that wraps up this episode. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you soon.